Hey
Okay.
everyone, welcome. Oh my goodness. So excited. This is the first time that I've ever been live. So welcome in. And this is actually I think it's Jane's first live conversation as well.
Yep.
Um, yep. So we're super excited that you're here. Ultimately, so we wanted to have this conversation because as a solopreneur, navigating entrepreneurship can feel there's so many feelings, but can feel overwhelming, exciting, isolating, life changing, and so many more things. And so we really wanted to have an honest conversation on what it's like to build a business as a woman and the realities of entrepreneurship that aren't talked about enough, like building truly, I think, a sustainable, authentic and aligned business with who you are and who you're becoming, because as entrepreneurs we are always evolving, and so are our businesses with them. So we hope that you leave this conversation feeling a few different things. We hope that you feel seen in what you're experiencing as an entrepreneur. We hope that you feel challenged in a good way to think differently about how you grow your business, and inspired to move forward with greater clarity. So if
Mhm.
we haven't met, my name is Emily Leduc. I am a marketing strategist and community facilitator for women entrepreneurs. And I help them navigate the ups and downs of business ownership with more clarity, confidence, and momentum. I really focus on relationship driven marketing, meaningful community, and taking more of a feminine approach to business and helping women build sustainable businesses that feel aligned with who they are and the life that they want to create. And joining me today is my lovely friend, Jane Messersmith, and she is the founder of the Wow Phase. So, with the Wow Phase, she guides others in a holistic homecoming to mind, body, and soul, and through live events, one-on-one work, and corporate wellness partnerships, she teaches breathwork and meditation as foundational tools for finding inner peace. So pretty amazing work. And Jane and I met, it was like a year and a half, maybe 2 years now, in a women's networking group. And immediately we connected, and I'm so glad that we did, because shortly after that the community had dissolved. She then joined and supported workshops of mine, and today she's a part of my community of women entrepreneurs, Bloom. So today, you'll hear our stories and experiences as entrepreneurs. And to kind of kick things off, I'd love to turn it over to you, Jane, and hear a little bit about. So you left your corporate job less than a
Mhm.
year ago,
Yep.
and I want to hear a little bit about how you went from that doing your own personal meditation practice to then teaching others and actually doing this as your own business.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for doing this with me, Emily. I know this is also my first time doing anything in a live capacity in terms of like a conversation. And so I'm just so excited to be here. But yeah, I think October will be 1 year of having left corporate. And yeah, it's so wild. It feels like a lot has happened and not very much all at the same time. But I had this inkling maybe around 2020-ish, like I really want to work for myself one day.
Mm.
How do I do that? And so I think we know through a lot of our manifestation work that sometimes you don't need to know like the whole picture, and you just continue to ask yourself like, what do I know? What do I know? And so I knew I wanted to work for myself. That was really it. Like, I want to be free. Freedom was something I was constantly looking for. And so in 20, yeah, about that same year, I started to go through some serious medical things and just really lost connection to my body, to who I was, and just a lot happened there. So I got certified in meditation and breath work in order to help myself connect more deeply with my inner world. And after a few years of practicing, because I kept asking myself, what do I know? What do I know? I was like, this is life changing. How could I not share this with others? And so my first class ever was a virtual class. I had friends and family come. They were so sweet and lovely in sitting in while I talked about breathwork and meditation, the science behind it, the spirit behind it, and then taught my first guided segment. And I left that session feeling so fired up, just like, yes, there's something here. And so it still took me about another 2 years to fully gather the confidence to continue teaching on the side and kind of find my style. I mean, let's be real, I'm still finding it. But it was the first time that I think I really started to follow my joy. And so when it
Mhm.
was time to leave my corporate job, it still felt scary, even though it was on my own timeline. But I also had a deep knowing that I
Mhm.
was going in the right direction. So
Mm.
yeah,
So exciting.
that's 6 years put into a few moments, but I know that you also have been working on following your joy, right? And making sure that you've been an entrepreneur for much longer than me. And so I'd love to hear a little bit more and have you share maybe what your path has looked like. And I know you are very excited, especially recently with your rebrand and refresh. And so just share a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You're hitting me with the questions, and I have so many questions for you. I'm like, now I have to set them aside. And yeah. Okay. So my journey as an entrepreneur. So I feel like I've been an entrepreneur since I was a child, and very much
Mhm.
starting out of creating and making things and trying to sell them to whoever would buy them. And I had a lot of family members that were entrepreneurs, which I'm curious, do you have many family members that are entrepreneurs?
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
I think it just like when you're surrounded by that, it can make it feel like that is a more possible path type of thing. But I ended up getting my undergrad in entrepreneurship, knew I always wanted to have my own business, but I could never figure out what it is I actually wanted to do. So I went down the corporate path, and I'd have like these little hobby businesses along the way, and very farmers market style businesses. And they were fun, but I knew that they were never the thing.
Mhm.
And in 2021, I was actually let go from my corporate job. And it was a blessing in disguise, because I was not going to leave that comfort unless I was pushed out. And at that point, it was kind of like a no-brainer that this is the time for me to start my business. And I feel like that's happened to a lot of people in the last couple of years, especially shifts with COVID and reevaluating what's important to you. But at that time, I still didn't know what kind of business I wanted to do. So I looked to a lot of mentors to help guide me, and was told, you should just do what you were doing in corporate, and which was email marketing at the time. And I, this is like, not a lot of people know this, but my immediate reaction was, that sounds horrible. There's no like
I didn't know
smooth.
that because you
Yeah.
I'm like, you have been doing that for a while now.
I solely
Yeah.
focused on email marketing for my business for the like first 4 years, and it was really successful at first. So I worked as like a consultant freelancer, and there's parts of email marketing that I like being able to build a strong relationship with your ideal clients and then, bringing in business. So there's parts of it that I like. It's a
Mhm.
tool, but I knew that there was something more for me. And
Mm.
I always felt like I wasn't put on this earth to be an email marketer. Um, but I really was listening to what my mentors were telling me. And they were, I learned a lot of great things from mentors. And at the same time, they were using their own life experiences to share like what they, thought I should do or recommended. And I got to a point in my business where I was like, I'm just not happy. If I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I should really enjoy what I'm doing. And so when I see you
Mhm.
doing breath work, it's so exciting. And this was in the beginning, I'm forgetting the dates, it doesn't matter, but I started to really evaluate what was bringing me joy. And it was always in community with women entrepreneurs. Yes, there was an aspect to email marketing and education and things like that. But these were things my intuition was telling me all along. And I think it took me a long time to really listen to that and quiet the noise from what others were telling me and recommending that I should do. And so I then went through a rebrand in early 2026. This had been in the works for a while, and I feel so lit up and so
Mhm.
excited with the work that I'm doing. And now it's much more of cultivating relationships and community and spaces for women entrepreneurs to connect and grow together. And they'll learn some email marketing along the way. And
Yeah.
it's way more fun that way versus what I was doing before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've experienced this. Like, we do a lot of that, like, gratitude work, the, like, inner work, like, and I told myself for so long in those last few years of my corporate job, or so often, I should say, like, okay, like, what does this job give me? And you talked about comfort, and it was the same thing for me, right? Like, this lifestyle that I know, no matter what happens, I have this consistent paycheck and I'm really good at my job actually. And same like why when you went into email marketing consulting, people are like, you're great at this, like continue. Obviously, why wouldn't you do something that you're already good at? And so I just think that so much of my journey with entrepreneurship actually wasn't even like I already knew that I wanted to do this breath work and meditation thing and let's see where that leads. But a lot of it was like unlearning so much around like what what I deem as like successful and how I spend my time and busyness being my worth, things like that,
Mm.
right? And we talk about that all the time. What do you think are some of like your biggest learnings, maybe as you like first started entrepreneurship or as you've been shifting now? Because there's still some unlearning happening, right? From
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of what we've been told so much of our life would bring us that joy and security. And maybe it wasn't about that all along.
Yeah, and I think we learn that since childhood, even before our first job, right? Like these different things are instilled in us of how we should work and what success looks like. And I actually did a post on Instagram today that's related to this of some of the things that I needed to kind of let go of or unlearn for the success and growth of my business. And one of the biggest things for me was that productivity equals success. And I always felt like I needed to be working a 40 plus hour work week. I needed to be working above that because as an entrepreneur, if you have a business, you're grinding, you're working harder than anyone else, right? And so I would feel like I needed to chain myself to my desk and just keep working and working. And if I wasn't, I was lazy or my business wouldn't be successful. And I think that is even something that I have to continuously learn. And I even will use like an app on my phone where it's like a dinger to say like, okay,
Mhm.
take a break, otherwise
Yeah,
I'm just over here, it is like is so ingrained. But when we create those spaces, it really truly you're more energized and productive when you come back versus trying to force and be productive. So that was the biggest unlearning. I have so many more, but I'm curious, even, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an unlearning for you, but shifting into entrepreneurship, what was even a surprise for you, or it could be an unlearning.
sure. Yeah, I actually was just thinking about this morning because I'm actually at a friend's house in Portland. I drove here last night and we had like a sweet girls' dinner, and then she's off at work today. But like, I wanted freedom. That's why I left the corporate world. I wanted freedom in time and creativity and being able to follow my joy, as we mentioned. I wanted it so badly, but I didn't realize how once that like all my structure went away, I actually was kind of lost those first few months. I was like, what am I supposed to be doing? Nobody's telling me what to do. I've actually never been my own boss. Maybe I don't want this. Like,
Mhm.
and so that actually was really hard at a time that I thought I would be the happiest, like just feeling my lightest.
Mm.
I started to have the most confusion actually. So, and when I've talked to other women about this who have also left, a lot of them feel the same way. Like,
Mhm.
and so I think I kept telling myself, like, I want this softness, this lightness, this like feminine way of running my business. And I leaned so hard into this like imagination of that. And I didn't really have any of like the discipline in place or like the systems to get me going. So I think that's been one of my biggest learnings is like freedom without any like structure, like, and structure that I make and am aligned with. Like they need to work together. Like I can't just be like loosey goosey every day, because then I was feeling directionless. I thought I knew what I wanted, but then I was like, I don't know, I'm getting there. Like, who's making my to do list?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like you can swing like so far one way,
Hmm.
and it can be challenging to know what to prioritize and how to structure your day. And I hear that a
Yeah.
lot from other entrepreneurs as well. And I'm curious, have you found anything that's helped you with that structure or that accountability?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of it was showing up in groups like your community, and I will like shameless plug say it, but when you have a place to be, like I did in the corporate world, but now it's surrounded by women that I really enjoy and love to learn from and share with, like that kind of keeps you going. That's like one thing which was really great to like, I'm so lucky that you launched that when you did. And then I started doing that in my community too, in my local community in Bend. I hadn't spent a lot of time meeting other women who are running their own businesses. And when I would share with them, like, I actually feel kind of aimless, lost. Like, how do you structure your days? What do you do? That was so helpful. Like, seeing is seeing the tangible business and understanding like the inner workings and then hearing how someone like structures their day, that's at least how I learn. And so I wouldn't necessarily say it was like the actual like kind of tools or platforms they're learning or using, but how they maybe like plan per quarter or plan per month and the different types of goals that they set for themselves. And so that was helpful. both the online community I built and then the in-person community for sure.
Yeah. Well, because in corporate, it's like so much of that was structured for you. Your goals,
Mhm,
the check-ins, all
mhm.
of that was set, and then all of a
Yeah,
sudden you have this freedom to do it in a way that actually works for you, but what works for you because you've only been doing it one way. And I remember for a long time, like I think it was like the first couple years of my business, I would reach out to other entrepreneurs and be like, "Can I look at your calendar? How do you structure tell me what your day looks like." I always wanted to know what the flow of someone's
yeah,
day was like. And I think there's so much value in really learning from others and talking with
totally.
others. Otherwise, you're just off in your own little bubble.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was such a big change for me when I started to actually be very curious about how other women specifically were operating, especially. And something I actually learned from you early on, and I would say for most of my life, I was actually just like, I don't need it, was some of the like more feminine practices around business and then also cycle syncing. Like that was the first time I'd actually heard from someone that I knew personally that was working in that way. So I'd love for you to maybe like talk a little bit about that because there are some things I've started to pull in and after kind like I said, like being like, that's not for me for so much of my life, being like, actually, yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I'm a woman, and but this does fit into my life.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I this is funny. I learned cycle syncing from Brittany Ellers. Was
Okay.
in the Bloom community, and I met her through the virtual networking group that we met in. And
Okay.
when I left my corporate job, I also went off of birth control at the same time. I felt super disconnected from my body and my cycle, and really started tracking my cycle using the Aura ring and figuring out where I was throughout the cycle. And I became really passionate about talking about my cycle and sharing with other women how their cycle works on a monthly basis, and really finding that there are so many women that don't understand and know their bodies. And I think that's the step one into
Mm,
cycle syncing. And so what cycle syncing is ultimately looking at the different phases of your cycle and adjusting your lifestyle and work, exercise, maybe diet, all based on where you're at within your cycle and the different phases. Because as we're going throughout the month, you have your hormones that are fluctuating, and as they're changing, you have different strengths throughout the month. So, for example, during your menstrual phase, you're usually more connected with your intuition. So, this is a really great time to create more space in your business and go inward, reflect on the last month. Maybe you set goals in the beginning of the month. Did you achieve them? What went well? What needs to adjust? And so this is a really great time to reflect versus, you know, trying to do all of the things at once throughout the month, and really performing the same way constantly every day, which is a more of a masculine way of approaching things. So it's not only looking at what your strengths are at different phases, but it's ultimately listening to your body more.
yeah.
Um, because I think with cycle syncing in business, you can also take it too far, where you can say, well, I'm in my menstrual phase, my energy is usually lower, I'm maybe not as social, so I can't do any of these things for my business. I'm just going to take the day off. It's like, no, you are capable, like, you can still do things. So there's that, you know, flip-flopping too much one way, and ultimately it's listening to your body is the biggest thing at the end of the day. So cycle syncing in business has brought me more compassion for myself. It's helped me be more productive. Um, but the funny thing is that I actually am in my menstrual phase right now, which ideally I would not have scheduled this call. So, we can't do things perfectly either. Like life
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
And I've just created more space in my day leading up to this so that I feel energized.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you like totally touched on it. I think the reason I was like so averse to it at first was like, I was like, someone's just going to tell me how I'm supposed to feel during certain parts of my face. Like, no, like part of it was because, we talked about the corporate side. Like, I can be a boss bitch no matter what. Like,
Mhm.
and nobody's going to tell me when and where I can do that.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, like, I do feel like the core message there is around like your intuition. And I think there's like so many different tools and things that we've pulled from that all really point to that. Like I love learning from people that are like, what is your body, your soul, your mind telling you today? And so
Mhm.
I think that's why another thing that we both really love is our TBM work, To Be
Mhm.
Magnetic, if anybody has or hasn't heard of them. Um, but like another really amazing tool and something that I I'm trying to think. I've been a member for over a year now, but a lot of just like meditations and work on like getting in touch with your innermost self. And I think that that's why I love teaching breathwork and meditation,
Mhm.
because I'm not going to tell you what is best for you, how to find the light in your life, but we can like work on tools together and you can feel into them and then you can decide for yourself what works and doesn't work. And
Mhm.
that's why I think we just, yeah, like I love working alongside you. I love learning from you with the community because of that intuition piece. And that was just something that I did not talk about my whole life. I'm 36 now. I think starting around 32-ish, I was like, huh, what's this intuition thing? Because never heard of her.
It's so crazy. I have so much to say also, by the way, but, it's so crazy. I just had the realization that I have been cycle syncing for about 2 years, and that ultimately helped me connect more with my intuition, which then, like, led to this shift in my brand, which it became much more aligned with who I am, and I think if I hadn't done the cycle syncing, I don't know if I would have gotten to this place in my business. And at the same time, I was doing TBM, the To Be
Mhm.
Magnetic work, which that was one of the biggest things as shifting into an entrepreneur that I don't think was talked about is all of the inner work that is really needed. I got my undergrad in entrepreneurship. That was never talked about, which is so weird to think about.
Yeah.
Um, and I think TBM is such a great tool that like helps you facilitate that inner work as a human being and an entrepreneur. And I'm curious from your perspective in the breath work side of things, how have you seen that help you in your business as an entrepreneur, as well as just help the people around you? Like, what have you seen that unlock for people?
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing, honestly, and I guess I'll take one step back, like a lot of the type of breath work that I do myself and teach is very slow, deep quieting. And there is like another side that's more activating, and there can be like really big, awesome breakthroughs. And you definitely have this different feeling than I kind of play in the space that is, like I said, slow, relaxed, like very calming. And so, and probably because that's like what I needed at the time. And so that's kind of the route I've taken with teaching. But what it has brought me for sure is the ability to quiet down the outside world. So honestly, it comes back to like intuition because I realized looking back how much I was influenced and would like things or pursue things based on like what everyone around me was saying. And
Mhm.
so for me, the biggest thing was quieting down that outside world so I could tune in. And so part of it was messaging and intuition, but I talked earlier about having that serious medical issue. And when I would go to doctor's appointments and they would say, like, what are you feeling? Like, what are your symptoms? I
Mhm.
couldn't actually explain them because I was so disconnected.
Mhm.
And so when I started slowing down, I was able to be like, huh, like this is what I feel in my body. And I feel it here and I feel it with this intensity. And so it started with a physical thing. And then once I was able to practice more and more, it became being able to listen to my own inner voice. And so I think for me, that's what it's brought me with my business is even times when I'm scared or maybe aimless, like I said when I first quit, I still can hear this voice inside being like, it's going to be okay. And
Mhm.
so that's really incredible. And so I try to bring that experience in with anybody that I work with. Like we do hold a lot of power. It's there. We hold direction. There's a voice and let's find it. Let's find it
Mhm.
through breath and meditation. So I think that's for sure like what I bring to myself and to others through that breathwork practice.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, thanks for asking that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always been curious about breath work and I've done some breath work classes. I've taken like I've attended some of your classes, but
Mhm.
I have never had like a super consistent breath work practice and it made me wonder what could that do for me as an
Mm,
entrepreneur and help me with on a deeper level that I am not even realizing. So, and I think as we have entrepreneurs listening in today too, it's like if they haven't tapped into that practice, what might happen if they do? And it sounds like they could potentially connect deeper with themselves and their intuition.
yeah, and I mean, ultimately, like nervous system regulation.
Yeah.
Also, like that's a
Yeah.
huge one because if we are stressed and just so in our thoughts and maybe unfortunately thinking the worst as sometimes we can when things spiral and circle in our minds, being able to like bring it back and be like, nope, I'm safe, I'm on the right path, we're good,
Mhm.
keep going. And so I that's what a consistent practice has done for me, like even in the face of hard moments, hard days, whatever it is, I can come back and tell my body that we're okay. We can keep going.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And I know I feel like I've been sharing a lot about my breathwork practice for sure, but I wanted to ask you what are some other things that you do to help you continue building like I was going to say sustainable business, but maybe like the momentum. Like how have you continued to show up every day and not be that person that thinks you need to be working 40 plus hours a week, but you've been doing this entrepreneurship for thing for we said 6 years. And so, yeah, that's a long time. What have you learned along the way?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me has been community. And when I was in the corporate space, I loved having like I loved connecting with the people. Like it was more the interactions with everyone, learning from each other. Like I missed learning from
Mm,
each other. I would often present things to peers and get feedback. So it was always that community and connection. And for a long time, I built my business alone. And I mean, I would go to like some networking events. It's not like I was just like, this hobbit like at home completely alone. But for the most part, and I had mentors, but for the most part, I was really not surrounded by other women that were doing the same thing as me. And when I did that and really found aligned communities, because I have a business background, but whenever I'm in a networking event that's like businessy, I feel super drained afterwards. I'm like, this just is
Mhm.
not aligned with me. And so I needed to find a community that was similar to me, interested in herbalism, natural wellness, you know, cycle syncing, like all of the things that I love
Yeah.
and value and am interested in, but are following their dreams and their passions, like you and breath work and doing something that is creative and impactful on the world. And when we do surround ourselves with others that are similar, but taking those steps and seeing that success as well, it ultimately expands your mind to say, oh my gosh, this is possible for me too. Or um, I have someone that I can share my work with and get feedback and be able to move that much faster. It's like you need the feedback to get away from the whiteboard and stop thinking in your own like one way thinking and get outside perspectives. So I think the community aspect has been the biggest shift for me. And I would be a part of some different communities that I liked. And then at some point they either no longer existed, weren't accessible to me and where I live. And I was like, I'm creating my own thing.
Yeah.
So that's what stemmed the shift in my business and creating those spaces for women to grow and learn together. Um,
Yeah.
does that? I think that answered your
Yeah.
question. I was like, wait, what
Yes,
was the
yes,
question
yes,
again?
and sustainability, and, like, and keeping going, like, you've been doing this for 6 years in different ways. But I
Yeah.
actually wanted to touch on this, so because I remember when I first started, I didn't even know to that I wanted to be in a community, like, looking for a community, but I was gonna say, like, where have you found the different groups, whether it was, like, ones that worked out or didn't? Like, yeah, how did you find them, and how did you decide, like, what to try and what maybe was gonna work for you?
Oh my gosh, it was so hard to find. I don't know. I feel like you in Bend, you seem to have all of these really cool communities around you. I can't find those by me where I'm looking. I mean, I would do just searches on
Yeah.
local networking events. And that those usually brought me down the path of the traditional business
Mm,
networking events that just in groups that weren't really for me. Um, I think once I started to go to other spaces where my type of person would go to, so like a wellness event would be a better spot for me, but they're not always entrepreneurs there. Um, I think then anything else was really just stumbled upon,
mm,
as well as like continuously networking with other people, having conversation, being introduced to someone else, and then all of a sudden like land in this community that you never thought that you would. Um, but I think that was a big part of why I did create what I created, because I wasn't always finding what it was that I wanted.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that's actually, like, the cool thing about entrepreneurship, right? Like, I kinda said it before, like, when you even just say the word breath work, like, there's a million ways to go with it, and they all serve different purposes. Like every teacher has their own flavor. There's just so much out there. And so I feel like I kind of became what I was most drawn to. And then as I think about the new programs that I create, it's also like things that I wish existed, right?
Yeah.
And so, and it's funny because the community we met in, the organizer of that one said almost, I remember her saying something similar. She's like, I couldn't find anything, so I made it, which is like so amazing. I love the freedom to do that, right?
Hmm. I know. It's the and when you talked earlier about leaving, like leaving corporate and what you really wanted the most was the freedom. And I think that's why so many people become entrepreneurs is for that freedom, to be
Yeah.
able to shape whatever it is that they want and live this really spacious life.
Yeah.
Um, I am curious, has there been a shift in your business that you didn't expect? Like, did you have to pivot or you have you not gotten to
Mm.
that point yet?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, like I said, I was kind of doing classes on the side when I was still working full time. That was a big time of learning for me, like in those 2 years before I actually went in all in. And that's because for me, I love learning about like the science behind it, the spirituality behind it, the meaning, like so much of that is so interesting to me. And those were kind of the classes I was leading, but then I realized like people are coming to receive. They want to walk into the
Mhm,
room and they want to experience.
mhm,
Maybe there's 1 out of 10 that love also learning about your blood pressure and your heart rate and the energetics and whatever the long list is. And so that was like one of the pivots I made. So more in like the way that I was teaching. And then I just think it's been about following my ideas, so or like my pings, I guess. So
mhm,
there haven't been big pivots necessarily, but for example, like the corporate wellness program, I said one time out loud, like, I feel like companies need this. Like I think um I should think about teaching like corporate wellness programs. Like, and I said that to a few friends, and a friend literally was like, girl, I pitched you in my like culture club meeting. Would you be able to come and teach my like 60-person company in like a few weeks? Like, sorry if you're not ready, but you said you wanted to do this. And so uh I think it's moments like that, right? So like I said, not necessarily pivots, but like being able to express your ideas out loud and share them with people so that they think of you when things come up, and then saying
mhm.
yes when those opportunities come up. So I haven't had like big pivots yet necessarily, but just a lot of moments where I was able to welcome in like new ways of teaching, which was really cool.
Mm, I love that, and it reminds me of the even the sense of community of talking about it with friends and sharing that with others brings about these opportunities, and I think a lot of times especially within the first, like, 3 years of someone starting a business, it can be challenging to bring in your ideal client and feel
Hmm.
like it's like, "How can I get this lead generation?" And I think one of the biggest ways to do that is through community and connection, whether that's just, like, going out and networking, being a part of spaces like My Community Bloom, or talking with friends and just it's like staying into your own little bubble and maybe only posting on Instagram isn't going to necessarily be the thing. It might help you grow in some aspects, but it's
Yeah.
not usually like the game changer. It's that community and connection with people.
Yeah. I mean, I think it all depends on what you're looking for. Like, we live in a world where I think it is so cool that you can build anything in any way that you want. Like, you really can. And so, we're talking about what works for us. And for me, it is the conversations, it is telling people what I do. But I think
Mhm,
the big part of it, like I guess the feeling behind me telling people is me also being confident enough to say
mhm,
like, this is what I do, these are my dreams. I couldn't do that not that long ago. I was like not even comfortable. I would go to one of these networking events and people would have this like beautiful introduction of who they are and what they do. And I'd be like, I'm Jane and I'm a breathwork meditation coach. Like, no feeling, just no, like, who's gonna think of me when they're like, oh, I need a teacher for something.
Mm.
So yeah, like being able to talk about yourself, I think is actually something that, yeah, just like it brings in a lot of opportunities, but the way that you do it and the feeling you have behind it also helps people like remember you
Mm.
or not.
Yeah. Oh, so true.
Yeah.
It takes practice and time.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, I know we've talked a little bit about this, but do you have any like learnings, like maybe things that you thought would help with building your business, or I don't know, maybe tools or paths that you went down and you're like, actually that didn't do much at all?
Mm, I mean, my biggest thing has been the intuition that has
Mm.
like follow your intuition and stop trying to listen to other people. I think for another thing in the beginning was I started to get a lot of certifications and like hoarding certifications. And that was all around email marketing, which is really weird because I had been working in this space for over 5 years and had all this experience. But I think it was that going down this path that I'm not qualified and who am I?
Mm,
And it's what I've also learned over the years is that you really only need to be a few steps ahead of the people that you are guiding and leading. And you need to have worked through something on your own, right? Like have some credibility, but we have so much life experience that you don't always need to have all of these certifications or maybe limit yourself because you don't think that you're qualified. So that was something that was also a learning
I'm
too.
like,
And I,
girl, yes. Getting caught up in the certifications because, yeah, I mean, it's just like almost a delay tactic. And not saying that we shouldn't ever stop learning because I would love to learn. But I was like, well, maybe I need one more and then one more. And then maybe I don't know about this yet. So hold on. No, I'm not putting myself out there yet.
yeah. Yeah, totally. But I'm curious, like, because we've talked about a lot, but do you have one takeaway or thing that you're currently practicing or something that you would love to invite people into for your world at all?
Yeah. So a lot of what is happening currently is actually happening in Bend, Oregon, which is really cool. But seeds that were planted long ago, I'm going to start teaching weekly on Mondays at a local studio, Pine and Prism. And then I have a very exciting partnership coming up with a holistic healing studio. So they do like acupuncture and massage therapy and Chinese medicine, and we are going to work together on like a 6 week kind of like breathwork meditation 101 for people that are new to it. So that's all in Bend. That'll be announced soon. But really, I try to host virtual events um, most most months, sometimes a couple times a month. And then I love working one on one with people as well. I would say my sweet spot, as I talked about earlier, is kind of like that slower, deeper type of breath work. There's so much out there. That's why I like holding these virtual events. Like, you should try everything. I love going to other facilitator classes and experiencing their mixture of magic. And then one on one is really for people who want the experience to be tailored to them. Something that I've had the honor of doing in the past is working with other women who also have gone through serious medical issues or are currently going through a serious medical issue and feel that disconnection and feel like they need to find support in a way that is soft but also very effective. And so that is also something I offer. And then I also record custom meditations. So if there's something yeah, that people
Oh,
want, I've done things for good sleep, things for envisioning your future self. So I gave you a long list. You said one thing, but let me tell you, Emily, I've got multiple.
love it. Oh
Yeah,
my
so
God.
working on a lot. I mean, that's the beauty, right, of entrepreneurship, like we mentioned. But yeah, what
Mhm.
about you?
So
Tell
fun.
everybody viewing what you're working on, what you have to offer.
Yeah. So I'm super excited for I have a workshop that is virtual next week. It's called Align to Grow, and it is a welcome series refresh for the evolving entrepreneur. So the this is technically part of the Bloom community, but some of the workshops people can drop in if they're not a Bloom member. Um, but all workshops are included in the membership. Anyway, this workshop, the thought is that, as entrepreneurs, we are continuously evolving, and um, it's really important that the systems that support our business growth evolve with us. So sometimes you may have shifted in your business and all of a sudden you look back at the welcome emails that you're sending and feel like it is an old version of your business. So we are taking a very strategic approach within this workshop to reground yourself with where you're at with your business, your ideal client, the transformation you provide. And then we will actually refine the first three welcome emails within your series together. So I'm really excited about that. Even though I said I'm not excited about email marketing, there are parts of it I really do love and enjoy. Um, so I'm super excited for that. That's next Wednesday, 12:30 Central Time on Zoom. And then right now I have a wait list for those to join the Bloom community. It will be opening up, membership will be opening up in September, probably around mid-September. I'm still trying to figure out the exact date, but for those that are joining the wait list, they will have exclusive access to some special resources and a special founding member rate. So the membership is ultimately for women entrepreneurs who don't want to navigate entrepreneurship alone, and want support in their growing their marketing as well. So we do co-working, we have workshops, we have connection, um, so many amazing things. So I'm
Yeah.
right now building up that wait list. And I also do work one-on-one with people too. A great way to partner with me is in office hours. So if you are feeling stuck with something in your business, you're not sure how to move forward, whether that's email marketing or something else, you can schedule an office hours session with me, pop in, and then I will help you get unstuck and help you move forward. So those are my things right now.
Love it. We're
Yes.
busy, happy, doing
Yeah.
things like this. This was I hadn't even done a podcast, anything. But Emily said, "Let's do this," and I said, "Okay," because I already love chatting with you. So log on a Friday and have a nice conversation about all the things we've been up to. Love it.
Yes, and who knows, maybe we'll come up with another idea or topic of how we've worked through something in our businesses. I have a
Yeah.
feeling that this won't be the first time that we're going live.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I mean, I hope anybody who's the people who came live today, thank you for spending your time with us. This was so fun for us. I hope you picked up little nuggets, or I think, as Emily said at the beginning, it's really nice to feel seen through hearing about others' experiences. I feel like sometimes as an entrepreneur, you can feel like you're really alone and you start to hear about what's going on, even with people that seem so successful. Cause I feel like that's the times where I'm like, oh, I'm actually doing all right. Or, we're all in this together. And so that's why I love forums like this, the opportunity to speak. Also, I'm a chit chatter. So, we're going for another hour.
Right. Yep. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you everyone who joined. Hope that you have a
Yeah.
wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, Emily, see you next week for our workshop.
Yes, see you then. Bye.
Bye.